Hello everybody, how y'all doing? Hope you're doing well. I apologize for the fan running in the background. I just got back from my morning walk and yeah, I'm just a little bit hot. I was going to check the temperature before I jumped up on to do this video and I just completely spaced. So, but yeah, before I went out, I know it was like upper 80s, low 90s, something like that. So, and it's only about 10 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, but I really wanted to get back out there, out in the elements to do my walk, because it's important for me. I feel it's very important for me to help with getting my body back used to the environment, the pollens and the aromas and so on and so forth. And also, since I live in the desert, I should be get myself back used to the heat again and everything. So, and in the past, that's what I've always done. I have walked outside, even if it was 100 degrees outside. So that's what I'm building myself back up to. So, yeah, and it's also the reason why I'm a little bit red. So anyway, yeah, I was gonna do a video while I was out, but I'm like, I'm just gonna take it easy and progress without, especially with me dealing with the breathing difficulties still and so forth. So build myself up slowly. So anyway, what I was gonna mention to you all, I don't know if you watched yesterday's reading or not, but at the end I did kind of a big announcement about doing rideshare driving and switching over to doing deliveries. Yes, it's going to be less money, but in the long run, it's going to be more beneficial for me in several ways. One of those ways is I also made the announcement that I'm going to be going back to school. Okay, and that's something that really everybody should consider. I know that it's something that I've been resistant to, because I've already got 2 bachelor's degrees. Do I really want to go back to school? And we've seen how well those worked out, It's like, come on. But in the end, and that's why it really surprised me with coming to this realization this week. It wasn't, it is something that I've always wanted to do. I have always wanted to learn yoga, learn Tai Chi, and if I'm going to learn them, why not teach them as well? I do enjoy teaching. I did teach for a little bit, some non-credit classes over at the community college. I did enjoy it in many ways. Some of the background stuff that was going on, didn't enjoy, but that's part of the ins and outs of pretty much any job that you do, no matter what. There's always going to be ins and outs. And but for the most part, yeah, when I was actually in the classroom and teaching, I really enjoyed that. So I'm like, and I had been doing yoga, a type of yoga called Dan Yoga, for the last, I think since 2018, so that's 6 years. And I started doing it partly, well, actually, primarily because of some injuries that I had sustained with a car accident injury that I had been in the year before. Kept having issues and so forth, and I would just kept feeling like I just wanted to stretch everything out. And I was like, you know what? Let me check out this book that my best friend sent me. I had kind of read it a little bit here and there, but it was just not my thing. I wasn't really into it at that time. And I started reading it and everything, and there were a lot of things that clicked. There were, at least with some of the poses, basically the postures. Uh, um, they just sounded so good with reading them. I was like, you know what, I'm going to try this out, and oh wow, yeah, huge difference that it helped make, and it helped, stretch everything back out that had been compressing and compacting and so forth, you know what I mean? And how the muscles, they'll constrict and contract, especially after some sort of trauma like that. And I was just like, wow, yeah. And I kept going through that and everything, and then it was just like just going through and doing those stretches every single day, those particular stretches, and it made a world difference. It gave an opportunity for my body to heal the way it should heal. Okay. And so, yeah, I have wanted to learn yoga and everything, but you know how life gets and so forth, and of course your interests change and everything. But certain things, and I've always wanted to learn Tai Chi too. I've always been interested in it, but I have never gotten around to it. Again, life, you know how it goes. And I'm just like, and then this year, or well, of course, as you all know, the last year and a half has been really tough on me with my health and everything. And I'm just like, and especially with becoming a diabetic last year, I was just like, I'm getting closer to that mid-century mark. I need to, get in gear, all this sort of stuff with things that I really wanted to do in my life. So I was like, all right, let's start tackling. And one of those things, of course, was wanting to uh, uh, find and restore a Victorian home. Found the home that I want and everything. It was up for sale. It was basically going to be a quick sale, or they were in hopes it would be a quick sale, but it didn't work out, so they took it back off the market, and then they moved on. They still own it. It's still the same owners. I did do some research on that. It's definitely still the same owners. So probably if I came back to it, but I know they're not occupying it. They've actually left the area. So probably, who knows? If I go and offer them, same price or whatever, who knows? They just might take it. But yeah, that's one thing I want to do. But if it doesn't work out, all right, I move on, find another one. Just not meant to be. In the meantime, it's helping to get me going. One of the things, though, that I was really kind of concerned with the situation is the fact, and really with most of the areas that I'm looking at, areas that I really want to live in, I really want to be able to live in more of a rural type area, or a very small city or something like that, not a whole lot of people around and everything. I know going from one extreme with Las Vegas of over 2 million people with over 50 million visitors a year down to hardly any visitors and nobody around. But I've always lived in tourist traps, so yeah, it's time for me to just kind of calm down. That's what I'm looking at. Is where do I want to settle? Where do I want to be for the rest of my life? But at the same point, I'm still young enough where I need to, of course, still be able to work and everything. And it's a question I kept asking Spirit and everything, and asking myself, what do you want? What should I do? What do I want to do and everything? And then I posed the question again this week, and I actually was having a conversation. It was my very last ride that I did as a rideshare driver, and I was having this discussion with this lady. She's a professional in town for a convention, and yeah, the answer was revealed to me, and then going back to school, basically, and getting that online certification, and also was running into some issues at nighttime. I kept, of course, still trying to go back out to do the ride sharing work and everything, but unfortunately I've been running into issues with my diabetes at nighttime, with low sugars and so forth. I mean, to the point where it's like, okay, I mean, really low sugars. So I'm just, so I haven't been able to go out to work at night, and I hate driving around during the day as far as transporting people are concerned, with dealing with the traffic and so forth. It drives me nuts. So it's like, well, all right. And then and to tell you the truth, I haven't wanted to be out there. I really, really haven't. I've been burned out for quite a while, and just like, well, what should I do? And then bam, it all hit me. And I'm like, you know what? That's a really good idea. I love doing yoga. I have been wanting to get back into it. I feel so much better when I'm doing yoga, doing my meditations, going for my walks and everything. I really enjoy teaching people about all of this. don't necessarily have to bring the spirituality involved, as far as the connection with spirit and so on and so forth. You can actually be an atheist slash agnostic. You can be from anybody from any particular dogma, practice any way that you want to, in to uh, uh, participate in doing yoga and tai chi. And I really want to help people with finding themselves, basically going down the same journey that I have been struggling with myself, which I know we all struggle with throughout our whole lives. So, yeah, it's kind of like, all right, I'm doing this. Consequences be damned, basically. And I'm enjoying it. I've been enjoying. I haven't actually gone out to do deliveries yet. Used to do deliveries when I first started being a rideshare driver, but everything was completely different then. I've been enjoying learning about the new systems and so forth. And it's like, hey, you can actually maybe make some money now. Back then, no, it wasn't worth it. But now it's like, okay, I might be able to make at least something until at least I can maybe pay my bills until I can get this other stuff going. But it isn't just those that I want to do. I also want to get certified in aromatherapy. I'd like to do Reiki and so forth. Because and of course, I'm coming from the standpoint of somebody who has been in pain, somebody who has dealt with the health issues and so forth. So I understand where people are coming from. Okay, and so yeah, that's the direct. That's something that I will admit that is a driving force with me with pursuing the path that I really want to go. And yeah, I have 2 bachelor's degrees. No, they are not going to the wayside. Okay, it's just like the vulture spirit and the animal spirit of the animal oracle deck teaches us with the vulture spirit. When he's around, nothing is wasted. And in this circumstance, my first 2 degrees will not be wasted. My first one is in sociology, concentration in criminal justice. If you're going to go down the spiritual path, or even with trying to figure out your own life path without spirituality involved, you're going to need to do some inner work, and you're going to need to do some hermit work, figuring out your triggers and so on and so forth. Even if you're going to take everything from a scientific standpoint with psychology and so forth, you're going to need to be able to tap into your dark side, those triggers and so forth, figure out where your boundaries are at and so forth. It's going to be a part of people's learning process, as far as with being a life wellness coach. And my second degree is in graphic design. That's a huge also. That can be very therapeutic. The school that I'm interested in going to also offers a master's in art therapy. That's something I would love to pursue. And also, I wouldn't mind pursuing my PhD. I know, scary. But all of this, provides that basically those certifications, so that way you can go and do like corporate work and so forth, teach at universities and so on and so forth. But the main thing is it basically, gives that standing, that certain level of standing that people appreciate. Okay. But with the graphic design work, that's going to help me with promoting myself, with finding a job afterwards, and promoting myself with a business. So yeah, definitely both of those things are going to come into play when I start down this journey. So all of that tuition and so forth isn't wasted. Okay, all that knowledge, all that experience and so forth, even past jobs and so forth. My work with the ride sharing and cab driving, basically, and retail, all that customer service. There's been lessons with that. Probably the biggest one, patience. Working with the public. Sorry about him be shaking things. Working with the public requires a lot of patience. Let's face it. Okay. So yeah, definitely. There's going to be a lot of experiences that I'm going to be bringing into this and everything. And there's nothing wrong with going back to school. I mean, I'm 49. I'm going to be 50 later on this year. Yeah, I'm at that mid-century mark, just about. And it's like it's going to, yeah. Is it late in life? Sure. Yeah, it's late in life, but you know what? There's actually several people out there who finally get themselves rolling, finally figure themselves out midlife. Personally, I think that's what it boils down to, because you spend your first years, those first 18 years, you're living underneath your parents' roof, and or if you didn't, if you lived within the system or whatever, one way or another, you're being indoctrinated in, a certain way. You have to abide by certain things, in order to basically graduate from that sort of environment. Okay, and then you finally, when you're 18, bam, you're considered an adult. You're out on your own, and now it's like you're basically thrown out here into the world to the wolves, and you having to be relearning things all over again. Because before, like if you were still living at home, I should say, when you were still living at home or in a foster system or something like that, you're having to be abiding by those rules and by their standards and by what they wanted and so forth. Now, you're 18 and you're out on your own and everything, you're figuring things out on yourself. So you're pretty much kind of starting all over again with relearning yourself. So you're going to be going through all that all over again. And then, of course, if you get married, then you're going to be taking on their personality traits. And if you have kids, you're going to be sacrificing yourself for that and so on and so forth. So in actuality, it's like I actually have these conversations with my best friend quite frequently, and we both agree with the same thing. You really don't get to know yourself until you kind of get to that mid-century mark. I hate to say it. You really don't figure things out until then. And she sees it with her child that she has. So, it's her child that's now going through that same thing. She's like, yeah, I really see it now. So, yeah. And there's actually a lot of very successful people. One person I think of is Morgan Freeman. He didn't figure things out until he got to his midlife crisis, basically. So, and look where he's at now. Yeah. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with going back to school if you need to, switching careers, maybe, if it's something that you've always wanted to do, but you were afraid, for whatever reason, afraid of what people would think, afraid of the financial difficulties, so on and so forth, and it's understandable. It's all understandable. But at some point, especially if you are unhappy, at some point, you've got to take that plunge. You got to take that deep dive, just like in yesterday's reading with what it was talking about. Sometimes you got to take that deep dive. Sometimes you got to take that leap of faith and believe in yourself. That's what matters most. Doesn't matter what your husband thinks, what your wife thinks, what your kids are going to think, your parents, the rest of your family, your friends. Yeah, a lot of them are going to think that you're nuts. I can tell you that right now. They're going to think that you're nuts. But do you really want those sort of people in your life? No, you don't. You want people in your life who are going to support you, no matter what decision that you make. Obviously, yeah, there's some decisions that you probably should not make. Oh, I'm gonna go. I'm deciding to go off and be a drug addict. You might not want to do that. I don't think anybody ever decides to be a drug addict. It's kind of one of those things. Oh, let me experiment, and then next thing you know, oops, yeah. I've seen it happen too many times in my life. But you know what I mean, as far as going after something. Man, I don't know, maybe you have a dream of being a circus performer. Most people would probably think, what in the world? But that's something you wanted to do your whole life. And that's what matters most. And that's how, even though it might be a financial struggle, that's not what it's about. The real true prosperity is what it brings you in here. And that's what matters most. That's your true prosperity. And that's the decision that I've made. Okay? So, and a lot of times, Especially if you use this, you can turn that into something that's very profitable. Let's face it, David Copperfield isn't just any roadside magician. Understand what I mean? Okay? My apologies to Mr. Copperfield. In case he sees us. Yes, I did give you a ride once, so. That ride shared ride. Sorry. Anyway, it is Vegas. We do transport celebrities sometimes. So, anywho, yeah. And I only said that in case by chance he recognizes me from several years ago, which I doubt. Anyway, I think I'm starting to cool down now and so forth. So yeah, I just wanted to leave these thoughts with you about all of this. That's right. I wanted to give you also another good example of somebody that actually, when I was graduating with my first degree, I was like in my mid 20s. I think it was like 26 or something like that. I did start a little bit late, especially back in those days where, if you're going to go to college, you started at right after high school. Well, I waited a few years, figuring things out and so forth. But when I went, the school that I went to was actually an historically black university back in Norfolk, Virginia, Norfolk State University. Go Spartans, behold the green and gold. Yes, yes, I am an alumni from there, very proud. There was somebody that I didn't find out until the day of graduation. During this graduation ceremony, I found out that I had actually been going to school with somebody who was in her 80s, and she was pursuing her very first bachelor's degree, and she graduated. So it's never too late. Never, never too late. Yeah, life gets us down. It sure does. Let's face it, one way or another, we've all been through the ringer. We've all have our stories. But what matters most is you and what it is that you want, what it is that you want to pursue. Even if it means leaving behind something very, very lucrative. Maybe you've been very, very successful as a stockbroker or as an attorney, a doctor, or writing books or something. If it's not bringing you happiness, if you know something else is bringing you happiness or is going to bring you happiness, go for it. That's what matters. Because ultimately, what matters in life is what makes you happy. Okay? So, yeah, and I know there's tons of stories that I could do, like a student that I went to school with. There was one quote that popped into my head while I was thinking about this also, when I was going to school during one of our invocations, the award ceremonies that they do throughout the year, like perfect attendance, perfect straight A's, so on and so forth. And we had a guest speaker come in. And there was something that he had said that has stuck with me throughout everything, okay? And that I've been through in my life and so forth. And he said they can take everything away from you. Everything you own. They can take away your health. They can take away your family, your friends. Not talking about anybody, the world, basically. Everything can be taken away from me, but there's one thing that can never be taken away from you, and that's what you know. So take that knowledge that you already have, put new knowledge to that, and put that into practice. Okay? Go back to school. If that's what you have to do. All right? Learn new skills that's going to help you with what it is that you really, really want to do in life. That's going to make you happy. All right? I love you all. I know it's been a long one. I'll talk to you all soon.